We recently had a shoot for one of our clients, and this was kind of a last minute thing, and it was also kind of a quick turnaround thing.
We are on our way to the airport to head to San Diego. Apparently the Southwest belts are down today, so all of our luggage had to go sit in a pile. Fingers crossed that it actually makes it on the plane. So you know I love the minivan, but I don't think I've shown you why I love the minivan so much.
It was in San Diego where we needed to film, and it was essentially a product testimonial kind of video. Now, the final thing was going to have voiceover with a script, but the main component that we were filming was an interview with one of the customers of this company and his experience using the device that they make. And so we had to go kind of into his environment and very natural, authentic kind of testimonial, just capturing his experience using the device, how it incorporates into his kind of setup. It's in a lab, it's a scientific kind of instrument or device. And so it was very challenging to work with from a location standpoint, because we really had to try and make the best looking footage we could out of a situation that's not ideal. Now, most of these labs are usually a bit smaller, some of them can be a bit older, and sound is usually a concern because there's oftentimes equipment or machines that are hooked up that make noise and they can't be unplugged, because it's one of those things where if you unplug it, then to restart it, it's a whole thing. So oftentimes the sound is what it is and the space is what it is. It wouldn't really make sense to do something like this off-site in some other location that's not really relevant to the subject material. So when we're shooting something like this, we're often forced into very specific restrictions on where we're shooting, what time we're shooting. But thankfully, everything ended up working out great, ended up looking really nice.
We've got a couple more hours of daylight left, so we're gonna do some more time lapse today and some drone shots. We're thinking to do something down by the water, probably. I think out here, because the clouds will definitely be doing cooler stuff this way. Because over here, it's all right. I'm gonna have so much sand in my shoes, but it's worth it. All right, I'm clicking away. It's a beautiful day for a time lapse. We're out here a little bit early getting some time lapse shots. We're gonna fly the drone right around sunset. Just got a little bit more time. We've got about an hour before sunset, so just letting the cameras click away. I've talked about this before, but when you're doing time lapse, you want to make sure you have a very slow shutter speed. When you're speeding things up, you obviously want motion blur for the things that look like they're moving really fast. So right now the waves especially, and you need an ND filter to bring the light level down so you can slow your shutter speed way, way down. Right now my shutter speed is actually at like a second long. So I have a second long exposure, taking a shot every 2 seconds. And that gives me a little bit more motion blur on the waves. I could do it a little bit longer, but I don't have all night because the sun is about to start setting and we want to fly that drone. But it just is really important whenever you're doing time lapse that you keep that shutter really, really long. Otherwise, you get motion that's really jerky and doesn't really look quite right. It looks stuttery and stop motiony rather than actual high-speed video. I said that kind of weird. High-speed video would be slow motion, but you know what I'm talking about. The great thing about these Phantoms is that they're so easy to set up. It's really quick. And I finally did get some ND filters for it, so we should actually get more proper motion blur rather than having to crank the shutter speed up. Just want to make sure I don't get any sand in it, because that would not be good. Oh, that sunset's gonna look so good.
This was a pretty quick shoot, so we did end up having a little bit of extra time the day before and the day of the shoot that evening to go shoot some aerial footage down at the beach in San Diego. We went to 2 different beaches and got some really nice looking drone stuff with the Phantom 4. You can definitely get stuff that looks better with an Inspire or other really high-end multi-rotor or quadcopter or drone, whatever you want to call them. But the Phantom 4 is so easy to travel with. It's really nice and light, and the footage looks spectacular. Yes, it could be a little bit better, but for the price and the ease of use, it's just really really astonishing what you can get out of one of those things. So I've said this a million times in other videos, but I really encourage anyone, if you're on a job in a location where you're not normally at, maybe you're out of town, maybe you're traveling, take the extra time to go do something fun. You know, it's one thing to be working for the client all day, but it's really fun to take the gear out and go do something fun, whether it's a time lapse, some slider shots, some drone stuff, just random B-roll of the city or something. Just put together a video for your YouTube channel or whatever, like I do. It's really refreshing to get out and work for yourself and have some fun being creative and doing that stuff. And you know, it's usually not going to turn out to be the best looking stuff you've ever shot, but maybe it will. Maybe you'll get a lucky sunset, or you'll find a location that's just perfect for the time. And it's just fun to get out and do something other than just going back to the hotel room and crashing, even though oftentimes that is what you want to do because you're so tired after a long day. That's the time, those fun, creative times where you're just doing something for yourself. That's the time where you can make a mistake, try something new, see if it works, see if it doesn't, and learn from that. You would never want to do that on a client shoot where someone's paying you to do it one way and you try and do something different and it ends up crashing and burning. You definitely don't want that on client work. So take the extra time, even if it's not a typical day where you're working, you know, maybe it's just an afternoon or a weekend or something. Incorporate your work or your passion into that fun activity time so you can keep growing and learning, because that is what it's all about.